Greetings, Dr. Brent Bost for WISE-OB. It's July the 8th of 2020. I'm going to bring you a coronavirus update today. Long time no hear, right? Much like Albert Einstein, who didn't speak until he was 4 years old, I had nothing to say. Certainly nothing that wouldn't get me in trouble. So overall numbers, I'm going to do what the CDC does in most flu seasons, and that is I'm not going to count those anymore because the totals really don't change our strategy. They're simply sound bites for the media, and they just scare people. In summary, the numbers are higher than we wanted, and I hope that we can keep them down from here. But predictions and pontifications about the past and the future are kind of irrelevant because they never pan out, and so why keep doing that? I will say the infections are going up, which is probably a function of more testing, but also increased activity. Some activities good, some activities not so good. But the good news is the death rate's going down, and that's excellent. Probably a lot of this is younger people are getting infected, and they have a better prognosis. Better treatments. We're handling these patients better because we're learning as we go, but we are sharing these best practices, and so we're getting better at coronavirus. Remdesivir is out there, but in limited quantities, but it does help, about a 50% reduction in death for those who get started early enough. But again, that's only tested in moderate to severe disease. The good news is hydroxychloroquine, which is much cheaper, much more available, looks to be helpful. A large study out of Henry Ford Institution says that about a 50% reduction in deaths for people with moderate to severe disease again, and that's excellent. Medicine, again, cheap, readily available. You might have to have an EKG before you take it, but it's really very low risk, and we've had 60-something years of experience with Plaquenil or hydroxychloroquine, and so that's really good news for everyone. There's also a study ongoing about prophylaxis. If we can prevent the illness, like we do with Tamiflu during flu season, this would be a game changer. So keep your fingers crossed on that one. That'd be really, really helpful. The country is starting to open up, and that's great because lockdown was going to kill us all collectively, literally or figuratively. It was a reasonable strategy at first because we really didn't know what we were doing, but now it really makes no sense. The costs are too much for what it could possibly hope to achieve at this point. A better approach is to continue some degree of social distancing, hygiene efforts. All these are reasonable. Masks or face coverings, helpful, not magical. But, I say why not for now? It's not really that harmful to wear a mask, Outside is much better than inside. I don't think masks are necessary outside if you keep a reasonable distance. Even if the recent push to prove that aerosol spread actually is true, air circulation is a way to avoid infections. And God being pretty good at that, I say let him do it. So stay outside as much as you can. Indoors, when you're stuck there, you want to be about 6 feet apart if you can. Face coverings make good sense if you're going to be more than 20 minutes inside, or if you're going to stand shoulder to shoulder with other people because you refuse to try to help the situation. I've seen lots of photos of people in masks standing on top of each other. Now, this is not very sensible. It's kind of like when it's freezing outside, you decide to put your parka on over your swimsuit. If that's you, I can't help you, okay? Now, people who are vulnerable, the end point of all this is that people who are vulnerable need to stay hunkered down. And this seems to be working, but it's no good. It sucks. I hate that. But, the fact is this is what it is. I don't like paying taxes in April either, but the penalties for not doing it are very, very high, aren't they? So again, this is what we have to do. People with chronic illnesses, the elderly, particularly over 65 or so, comorbidities, these people need to stay hunkered down. Now, a revelation about younger people who here are getting severe disease with COVID. The press may say, oh, they didn't have any coexisting conditions at all or any predisposing conditions. Look at their pictures. They're almost all overweight. I mean, very much overweight. And it's a great time to start your diet, but until you get that goal weight down, consider hunkering down because you are at risk also. Please do that for yourself and for everyone else. Now, as far as schools opening, this is a hot topic in politics, and it shouldn't be. We need to stick with the facts. The schools must open in the fall, period. The American Academy of Pediatrics, who's a great resource for this because, one thing pediatricians do is that they love their patients. I mean, they love their patients. And if this was a bad idea, they would be the first to tell us. And their recommendation is for the academic reasons and for the physical reasons and for the psychological reasons that the schools need to be open this fall. And that's not being in school on your laptop at home. It's having your butt in a chair in school 5 days a week. Okay. This also allows both parents to work if they need to. The benefits of doing this are huge and the risks are relatively small. For the kids, there's little or no risk from COVID, right? Now, there are rare exceptions with significant illnesses in a very few people, but don't let that distract you from the truth of this. 40,000 people die every year in car accidents. That's 11 times more Americans than died in the D-Day invasion of Normandy. But we're still driving cars, right? You have to analyze risk versus benefit, okay? Benefits, big. Risks, small. For parents, healthy parents are at little risk of serious illness as well. The biggest threat to them is having to stay home from work if their kid gets ill or exposed. And lockdown every day gets you way more than that. Okay. And a child with unhealthy parents or other relatives at home who are at risk, they need to make arrangements, preferably to get the at-risk parent or grandparent out of the house. But if that's not possible, then maybe those kids will have to stay home for a time. Let's give them the resources to be able to do that. That's a much better strategy than punishing all school-age kids and their parents to achieve a goal that is not achievable. The virus is going to continue to spread regardless of keeping the schools closed, and there's plenty of data from other countries to support this statement. The costs are too high to keep the school closed for any possible benefits that might be obtained. And to my teachers, look, don't be afraid unless you're in a high-risk group, okay? We can protect those teachers with technology. Use the internet or satellite to send lectures into the classroom with necessary proctors in the room to keep the kids in line. This is a much better strategy than shutting down the classroom completely. Okay, well, that's enough for one setting. I'm tired, you're tired. Look, in this situation, we have to use our noodles and keep our emotions out of this, and also the politics out of it. This is an important decision. We've got to do the right thing for our children. Their futures depend on it. This is Dr. Brent Bost for WISE-OB. See you soon.